Coming up this week in work.
Waitrose came under fire this week for axing an autistic volunteer after his family asked if he could be paid for some of his work. He'd stacked shelves for 4 years, over 600 hours unpaid. So what's actually going on here, and where is the line between inclusion and exploitation?
Also this week, 2 billion-backed founders just raised $35 million to clone your co-workers. Yes, they call your clone Vivans. Vivans? I've never seen it written down. And it's an AI twin of every employee in your organisation, so you can ask questions when they're on holiday or in a different time zone. Is this a great way to share information quickly and easily, or is it just a step too far towards AI taking over the world?
And in truth or lie, are firstborn children natural leaders? They're overrepresented in C-suite and among world leaders, but is that really about birth order, or is something else creating that advantage?
Plus, of course, the world-famous weekly workplace surgery. We're talking to a startup founder who's drowning in hundreds of job applications and desperately needs a better system without spending a fortune. We're going to be consulting with our HR partners at The Curve Group, of course, who specialise in high-volume recruitment. We're going to get their thoughts.
This is Truth, Lies and Work, the award-winning podcast where behavioural science meets workplace culture, brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. My name is Leanne. I'm a chartered occupational psychologist.
And my name's Al, and I'm a business owner.
And together we help organisations build amazing workplace cultures.
Let's get into it right after a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. It's Leanne's favourite time of the week. It's time for the news roundup.
It is. Cue that jingle, Al.
Pressing the button right now. Okay, Lee, what have you seen?
Autistic volunteer is sacked from Waitrose after his family asked if he could start being paid after years of stocking shelves for free.
Ooh.
I know, it's been picked up by every news outlet, I think now, but I actually saw this shared on LinkedIn. It was a Daily Mail article. And it was actually shared by Christian Lang off of Standout Socks.
Standout Socks? What's Standout Socks?
Standout Socks is an awesome organisation that basically makes very bright coloured socks. They're on Dragon's Den, but they're a very purpose-driven organisation. So they support people with disabilities, Down syndrome, raise awareness, employ people with these conditions as well. So a really, really cool guy, really cool organisation. And I'm trying to get him on the podcast. Christian, if you're listening, come on.
Yeah, come on, Christian. Answer your emails. Check your emails, mate. Anyway, we're going back to, so it's Waitrose, which is a supermarket in the UK, kind of upmarket supermarket, kind of fancy.
Yeah, kind of fancy. So as I said, this is the Daily Mail report, but it's been picked up by pretty much every major national and regional media outlet in the UK. So the Daily Mail reported on Tom Boyd, a 27-year-old man from Cheadle Hulme in Greater Manchester, who has severe autism. Tom started volunteering at his local Waitrose back in 2021, helping to stock cages and stack shelves 2 days a week, 9:30am to 2pm. Always supported by a carer. Over 4 years, he clocked up more than 600 hours of unpaid work. Staff reportedly loved him. One colleague even joked he worked harder than some people who were paid to be there. I believe that. But things changed when Tom's mum, Frances, reached out to ask if he could be given a few paid hours. Not a full role, just 2 or 3 shifts a week as recognition for his time and effort. According to the Mail, the request was escalated to Waitrose head office, who was said to be alarmed at the amount of unpaid work he'd done. They then suspended his volunteering while they looked into it. That was 2 months ago.
Well, that's a bit unfair.
Yeah, Tom hasn't been back since. His mum says she's had to tell him the shop is being cleaned so he wouldn't be upset. Francis went on to tell the newspaper that we weren't after 40 or even 20 hours. We said we'd accept 3 or 4, but claims the company said Tom couldn't be made a paid employee because he couldn't do the full role. She pointed out that there are people on the same shop floor being paid who also don't do every task. She did describe the staff in store as amazing, but said things changed when head office got involved, calling it cold, corporate, and completely lacking humanity. Waitrose have said in a statement that they work hard to be an inclusive employer and partner with charities to provide work experience. They added that they're investigating as a priority, but can't comment on individual cases. So Francis and Tom's support workers are now trying to find him another role, maybe in another supermarket or even doing cleaning work, which apparently he really enjoys. So yeah, it's a frustrating story, Al, and especially when you think about Waitrose's tagline, the quality you'd expect at prices you wouldn't, puts it into perspective.
Also, that works double-edged sword, because Waitrose is known as being quite expensive. So perhaps it's like, it's not very good quality at prices I would have expected to be a lot lower than this. But it is a real shame. And I think, Tom, come over to Mostar. You can come and clean our house. We'd love to have you. We'll definitely pay you. It's just a real shame, isn't it? Because it sounds like it's something lovely happened, and then potentially, I'm sorry, but potentially head office or maybe HR or someone with a checkbox got involved and went, well, this is not the way we do things. We're going to cancel it. And it's just like, oh, come on now. It sounded like it wasn't hurting anyone. To be honest, if I was a store manager, if I was getting paid well enough, I might just dig into my pocket, or maybe even speak to the staff and go, look, we can't officially pay him, but would people be willing to throw a pound in a bucket? Yeah, because it sounds like it's more like just the principle of the thing rather than actually wanting the money. It's just, wouldn't it be nice if Tom could walk home with a little pay packet like everyone else does?
Yeah,
anyway, what are your thoughts, Lee?
Do you know what? I've heard of this before. People, parents who have children with either severe autism or other learning disabilities being put in these positions with these organisations who shout from the rooftops about how inclusive they are, and when it comes down to it, will set a boundary that really shows they're not inclusive at all. And I think this is one, right? I can see the person in corporate going, oh, well, this is a problem because that could be classed as exploitation if this person has worked 600 hours without being paid. Mum, Frances, wasn't pointing that out as a problem. No. She was just saying, actually, at this point, he's part of the fabric of the company, part of the team in the store. Can we just, for his own sense of value in what he's doing, get a bit of pocket money? Come on now, 3 hours a week paid. It's probably going to be about 25 quid. That's
about the price of 6 eggs in Waitrose, so yeah.
Exactly, but it's just all I can see the whole, we'll need to do a proper risk assessment, we'll need to make reasonable adjustments, maybe we'd need to actually advertise the role out, and it's all this corporate nonsense that actually then completely undermines what genuine inclusive employment looks like. When you match the roles, you adapt the roles to match the ability, and what clearly Tom can do here is a role that adds value to the Waitrose store in Cheadle Hulme. So why shouldn't he get paid for the effort that he puts in? And from a PR perspective, this has been a bad freaking week for Waitrose, man. And it pains me because Dish is my favourite podcast after Truth, Lies and Work and anything else on the HubSpot Podcast Network. But I'm now, it's like, can I not? I don't want to watch it because it's Waitrose and you feel the need to make a stand, and it's such a shame, particularly for a company that does pride itself on quality and shouts about how they like to integrate with the community. I think this is a major mistake, and I hope it's one that they rectify very quickly and very publicly.
Well, I'm sure after they've listened to your take on it, they're going to be on it straight away. They'll put some kind of tiger team onto the problem.
It sounds like you're being sarcastic, Al.
I woke up this morning in a really sarcastic mood. You know when you just wake up and everything's like, oh, go away. Mm-hmm. And our little dog's got a collar on. You know those cones that
he's walking into your knees, isn't he?
He just seems to have a way to get just under your kneecap, and he just comes in and runs in at about 300 miles an hour and just cracks you in there. And he doesn't really either. He doesn't know what he's doing or knows exactly what he's doing. But anyway, Lee, can we talk about my thing?
Yes, let's talk about your thing.
Okay, so Viven or Viven, I'm not quite sure what it's called. Essentially, right, this is the situation. You need to ask someone at work for something and they're off, or perhaps they're ill, or maybe they're just not answering their emails. So what do you normally do? Well, obviously, you just wait if you're polite. If you're a bit of a knob, you'll probably bombard them with DMs or call them or send them loads of emails and get them to pick up. But 2 guys have come up with a solution to this. They've invented a digital twin for employees. Lee, I'm gonna have a go at these guys' names. Ashutosh Garg and Varun Karacholia.
Great names.
They are
Ashutosh.
Ashutosh. They're already co-founders of a 2.1 billion AI recruiting startup called Eightfold, and they've just created this new thing called. I need to know what it is. I'm going to call it Viven from now on. Viven is a digital twin for every employee who, in theory, knows just as much as the real person does. The way they do this is that Viven accesses the email account, Google Docs, Microsoft Docs, I'm guessing all that, Slack, anything that the real person's got access to and builds up this sort of personalized, they're calling it the AI twin, but essentially it's just a chat GPT for that person. So they're trained on what they know. This is what it said they told TechCrunch, link in the show notes. When each and every person has a digital twin, you can just talk to their twin as if you're talking to that person and get the response. Leah, does this waylay madness?
This is some scary, creepy AR stuff here, right?
Yep.
Oh no, I do not like this for a number of reasons, and I'll tell you for why. I can see this being used in ways that it shouldn't. I can see it being used to make layoffs because now we've what's the word?
Duplicated, cloned.
Yeah.
Control C, Control V.
You've got all of the knowledge that person has and put it onto a computer system, so therefore we no longer need your knowledge, which is already tough out there for knowledge workers with AI anyway. I think this will take it to a whole other level. Then it's also the case of, like, as we know with these kind of learning models, they can hallucinate, they can go wrong and come up with the wrong answers. So then where does the accountability lie if I'm on holiday and they use my clone and my clone messes up and causes a massive issue or loses a company loads of money? Is that then my fault because it's misinformation that I've provided or my twin has provided? Or I think that's hugely problematic. And also you've got to wonder something as well around something kind of privacy laws, whether this is really something that individuals would want to participate in. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's business owners listening go, do you know what, I'd like to, me. That'd be great. I can go on holiday and my team has all the answers that they need. Yeah, but I'm not sure it's that simple, and actually any kind of effective leadership comes down to 20% knowledge and 80% how you manage those relationships, isn't it? So I don't know. I don't want to be a negative Nelly and kind of throw petrol on the AI fear fire, but it's not for me.
Throw petrol on the AI fear fire is one of my favorite things you've said this week. I love it. Well, in terms of privacy, they have tackled this. They've got something called pairwise context and privacy technology, which sounds a little bit like someone's just made that up. Essentially what it is supposed to do is control what information can be shared with which people. And also, the real person sees all the messages and all the queries sent to their twin, and they see the messages going back and forth.
But does that mean then that I'm going to have to go through when I return from leave all the different queries to make sure it all makes sense? Is that just a million emails but worse?
Yeah, good point.
Also, while I'm on my list of negative Nellies, what about things like hacking? Like, is it not a really massive intellectual property risk for organisations if you could just hack into the mind of Andy Jassy or something and get all of his knowledge? Or...
That's a good point. I mean, I'm reading from the article it says here, but perhaps the most important safeguard is that everyone can see the query history of the digital twin, which acts as a deterrent against people asking inappropriate questions. But no, you just pointed that out because, like you say, when you come back from holiday, the last thing you want to do is go through your inbox, and the very last thing, and the thing you'd never want to do, is sit through there and read through all the messages that someone's been sending your twin. Well, these guys seem to think that it's going to work, and they've raised $35 million for it. I can see from a business point of view, there are some issues in that essentially Claude has now got skills, which is where you can define how it does something in a particular way, or it does something. OpenAI has now got the Atlas, which is their new browser, AI browser. And you think that with these huge companies, they already have so much data and so much data on us that they could just launch one of these with better guardrails rather than just,
yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, they just take this podcast. They could take all 240 odd episodes and then clone us. Which is why I do not approve.
We do not care for this. So I'm sorry, guys. Ashutosh and Varun, nice names. We don't like your idea.
I'm out.
I'm out. Lee, what else you see, my love?
How do you feel about a 3-month notice period, Al?
I haven't had a job since 2002. I don't really understand. I don't even know what notice period. Notice period is when you say, I want to quit, and they go, no, you have to give me 3 months before you can. Oh, no, I don't like that at all.
Long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this caught my eye in the Telegraph this week. It was titled, I'm working my 3-month notice period. We're a drain to our workplaces. I was like, this is for me. Open. So if you're not sure, 3-month notice periods are literally what that is. You hand in your notice, you want to quit your job, you've got another one waiting, you need to give 3 months that job before you can move on. Typically, it's been reserved for senior executives, the big decision makers, people with the handovers. But now they are creeping into ordinary white-collar jobs right across the UK. According to consultancy firm Clover HR, the number of roles advertising a 3-month notice has risen by 8% in the last 10 years, and barely 10% of employers still follow the legal minimum of 1 week's notice. Everyone else is just kind of making it up. So, yeah, the piece went on to argue that it's all part of a defensive move from employers who are sick of staff moving on too quickly. A faster, younger job market means more people changing roles, sometimes every year. And one stat from insurer Canada Life shows Gen Z workers aged 18 to 25 have already had 6 employers on average, the same number as people in their late 60s.
Wow, that's quite a stat, that.
It is quite a stat, but then I also wonder where the stats come from if you appreciate the context. If somebody was kind of 18, turned 18 in 2020, it's been a fairly disruptive 5 years.
Yeah, good point.
Or even in the UK 2016, there's lots of nuance to this. I think actually, in the time, if you actually look at that same thing for millennials upwards, there is no difference in terms of how quickly they'll move jobs. Right. It's a youth thing, not a generational thing.
Got it.
Anyway, the article went on. Marie Hart from Popaki HR.
Oh,
Popaki.
What's it called?
Popaki.
Popaki. I like that. I'm going to be saying that word. I'm writing it down right now so I can use it later. Popaki.
Popaki HR told The Telegraph historically longer notice periods were for senior executives because it took longer to recruit and hand over, but now we're seeing them everywhere from middle management up. There's a feeling it's more acceptable now. So I think the issue comes when we actually think about what this looks in reality. Because on paper, you're kind of thinking, would be nice to have 3 months to deal with that, find somebody else to fill a role, do the handover. That makes sense. It seems intuitive. But the problem is when we actually think about how this plays out in the organisation, because you've got an employee who is already mentally checked out. You've got an employee whose manager might take their resignation personally. Mm-hmm. And then you're in this kind of couple breakup when you're still living together for 3 months.
Oof.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward. So workplace researcher Christine Armstrong said if somebody really wants to go, let them go. Otherwise, they sit in the canteen all day and moan. And this isn't just an anecdotal thing either from Christine. Reddit is full of people describing 3-month notice periods as soul-destroying, career-killing, with managers either piling on the work or freezing them out. Employment lawyers say that long notice is supposed to protect both sides. You keep getting paid, that's true. They get time to find a replacement. But compared to the US, where it's just 2 weeks, or Australia and Singapore, where it's a month, Britain's approach does feel a little bit excessive. Our thoughts?
I can kind of see both sides. I can. I don't know. I mean, 3 months is a long time. A very long time. And if your job is to answer the phone, well, 3 months is just a ridiculous amount of time. But if your job is perhaps you're working on multi-year contracts, sales contracts, then you do need some time to hand that over. Do you know what the solution is? Someone should invent a digital twin. So
yeah, well played. Nicely. What is it called? Looping back?
Yeah, it's a callback, I think.
Callback. That's the thing, isn't it? I get where people are coming from, but I think the reality just isn't really worth it. And I think there's a better way to do it. One thing I would say is if you're a really great manager who's having these constant conversations with your people, you're never going to get a surprise resignation. You're never going to get a surprise. You're going to feel it coming. If you're a really great manager, you'll even know it's coming because you don't have the career progression opportunities the person needs, or you can't offer them the same financial reward as another company could. So you know they're going to be moving on. The other thing is succession planning, man. Why are we not really focusing on succession planning? This is an operational issue as much as it is a people issue. Because you look at it as somebody leaving, they were a really key player in our team. If they left, it'd be a massive issue. So we're going to put in a 3-month notice period, and then we'll deal with that issue when the shush hits the fan, and we'll deal with it then. And it's like, cool, but what if this person's in an accident? What if they're like long-term sick? What if, something awful happens and they can't be in the business? it's a huge risk, particularly within a small business. If this one person is very dependent, you depend on them very much in terms of revenue or customers or processes, compliance even. So I think it's a poor solution to a problem that is going to happen. It's not a case of if, it's when somebody's going to leave usually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Waitrose and their knee-jerk reaction of going to Tom, the autistic guy we just talked about earlier, saying, right, okay, no, well, you can't work here anymore. It's like, well, there's nuance there. And like you said, this just sounds like someone going, 3 months, that's fine. Yeah, put it in as 3 months. And quite often some of these things, they're just like, they're a stroke of a pen, aren't they? So someone's writing the contract and they go, how many months notice? Audrey, how many months notice would you give this new guy? She'll go, 3. Okay, 3. And no more is thought about it. Whereas for the average person, they're like, 3 months, man. I suppose this person would have known, or people who got 3 months, they'll know when they take the contract that it is a 3-month thing. Is there something you could negotiate with, perhaps? When
I doubt it. I mean, you could try, but I doubt it. If, particularly the way the job market is now, you might have been able to in 22. But then I think that's kind of where all this came from, wasn't it? Because people were moving on quite quickly.
And also, I suppose it goes against you if you're saying, yeah, I'll take the job, but I don't want to agree to the 3 month. That's even worse. So yeah, no, don't do that. If you're listening, don't do that. That's a very bad idea.
It's problematic, isn't it? So then you are bound in. And I think the other thing as well is that as a business owner, you need to think about your time to fill a role. If that's taking you more than 4 weeks, you've got an issue in your recruitment process. There's also something called rolling recruitment, where you're continuously screening CVs for roles that you have a lot of or are regular within your business. So you've always got this pool of talent that you can call on. So then your filter role might be a week. There's so many things you can do to be more proactive, and this feels very defensive, and I think ultimately is inefficient.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I think that's everything. Is there anything else to add to that, Lee?
No, that concludes our business.
The links are in the show notes. As always, we're going to go to a quick break, and after that, we've got the truth or lie. I'm loving a truth or lie at the moment. This is when I come up with an idea and I go, Lee, is it true that so-and-so? And she'll go, I think so. Let me go and read up on it. And then we ask her in the pod and she just tells us. So
that is a summary of this segment, Al. Thank you so much.
I've got to take the magic out of it, haven't I? So we'll see you after the break for that. And of course, our world famous weekly workplace says, where I put your questions to Leanne. See you soon. Welcome back. So we're back to the segment that I've just destroyed by basically telling everyone how it works. It is our truth or lie. It's our weekly myth-busting segment where we take popular psychological claims and ask, is it true or is it a lie? So far, we've talked about left-brain creativity. We've talked about Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs. And does your vibe attract your tribe last week, which was a really interesting one. This week, I have a question that, like me, every firstborn wants to know the answer to. Are firstborn children natural leaders? This feels like a truth to me.
I bet it does as the oldest child.
Yes,
as the youngest child, I'm slightly defensive about this. So let's see. It is a popular belief, though, isn't it? In business world, on the telly. I'm thinking Succession. I'm thinking the Mitchell brothers.
The Mitchell brothers? What, from?
Yeah, because
EastEnders?
Yeah.
That's a reference.
Like Phil was the young one, Grant was the eldest, wasn't he? He's like, and Grant was like always in charge until he met his timely demise.
I think, and also that's not a spoiler because I'm pretty sure they both left about 25 years ago.
I think Phil's back.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He's got a drinking problem. The actor's got a drinking problem. He's going to have to. Yeah. The actor's heavily into sports betting. That's you've heard it here first. Sorry. So Mitchell Brothers. Yep, we had Succession, which is the amazing. I think is incredible. You think is incredible. A series about the supposedly Rupert Murdoch family.
Supposedly, yeah. And then we've also got. I haven't watched it yet, but the new House of Guinness on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Meant to be a similar thing. So yeah, you've heard it forever. The oldest kid becomes the CEO. The youngest kid becomes the artist or something in the performance area. Yep. And the middle child they probably just write books about being ignored. But what happens when we actually examine the data? I don't think Jill listens to the podcast, but if you do, my middle sister, I'm sorry, you're not ignored at all. Anyway. Lol. So, is it true? The case for, when researchers dig into who is actually running the show, firstborns do show up more than probability would suggest that they should. So, there's a 1990 study of 46 world leaders, and they found that 45% were firstborns.
Oh.
Yeah, and given the family size distribution, you'd expect about 30%, so there was a significant overrepresentation. That pattern also holds across different leadership contexts. So in 2020, a study found that CEOs were disproportionately likely to be firstborns compared to population baselines. And a Swedish population data from over 700,000 people revealed firstborns score higher on psychological traits associated with leadership, such as conscientiousness, emotional stability, and persistence. But why is always the more interesting question, I feel. So evolutionary psychologists point to resource allocation. So basically, parents unconsciously invest more in their first child, both materially and emotionally. And this shows up in things like photo albums. Count how many baby pictures of each kid there is. I'm fairly confident the oldest child has got more baby pictures than anybody else.
Maybe.
But the youngest one, everyone's just bored. It's like, oh yeah, it's a baby.
You've got 3 of those already.
Yeah, exactly. That gets supposed to spare. One study actually found that firstborns received 20 to 30 more minutes of focused parental attention every day compared to later born siblings, which busts the myth, I think, that the youngest child gets all the attention. There's also the dethronement theory that comes from Alfred Adler, very famous psychologist. Firstborns experience undivided attention and then must adapt when siblings arrive. This creates what researchers call a high achievement motivation. So essentially, they're trying to maintain their special status through accomplishment. So they become mini adults, they take on responsibility for younger siblings, and that builds early leadership experience.
So is it like this is truth?
Well, it's never quite that straightforward in psychology, is it? But we do have a lot of evidence that so far does support this claim. But as I said, it always gets a bit complicated. So the firstborn advantage does vary dramatically depending on a few things. The first is on what type of leadership we're measuring. So in family businesses, the effect is massive. Almost 80% of older family firm CEOs were firstborns. But to be fair, that is probably maybe more inheritance than leadership ability. Dad owns the company, oldest kid gets the company, or if they don't, dramatic ensues, and that's why succession was so good. It's tradition, it's not necessarily talent. If we look at regular corporations where you can't inherit your way to the top and that firstborn advantage does shrink, it's actually about 12 percentage points above expected. So yes, the older child is still overrepresented, but not to the scale that they are in family-owned businesses. Among startup founders, that basically vanishes. So what it's saying is that when firstborns have to compete purely on merit, their advantage gets much smaller.
Oh, I don't like the implication you're making there, Leanne. As a firstborn, I'm extremely upset with what you've just said there.
Sure you are.
Don't care for it.
Researchers have got very clever about testing this, though. So instead of comparing random firstborns to random laterborns, they compare siblings within the same family. So when you control for family wealth, education, and culture, the firstborn leadership advantage often shrinks by half or more.
So in real terms, what they're saying, when you actually compare it to a family, you say there's a family, well, we've got 20 families of 4, then there's no real correlation between the firstborn being a leader because they're all equally likely to become leaders. Is that right?
There is a correlation, but it's half as strong as if you did it randomly. Because what you're doing in that as an experimenter is you're controlling variables. So you're controlling for wealth, you're controlling for education. And when those variables are controlled, the link is much, much weaker.
Right, I get it.
We also then have to think about some historical evidence. So Martin Luther King Jr., he had an older sister, Christine, making him a later born child. And of course, his transformational approach to civil rights was world changing. So he refused to accept the established system of segregation, instead reimagining society entirely, which really does get to that point about latter born leaders who are more creative, who are much more open to wanting to change the way things are because perhaps they experience the way things are as somewhat unfair.
Yeah.
As a younger child, I feel that. Meanwhile, you've then got people like Winston Churchill, who was firstborn. He excelled in wartime leadership within existing structures. You know, so if you kind of got the existing system as the older sibling does, then they're more likely to know how to lead within it and assert their authority and influence. So a mixed bag of evidence there. In terms of the verdict, truth or lie, are firstborn children natural leaders? Well, it's true that firstborns are statistically more likely to end up in leadership positions, and they're overrepresented among CEOs, politicians, and managers by about 10 to 15 percentage points, above what we'd expect by chance. But it's a lie that they're natural leaders or inherently better at leadership, because the advantage largely reflects how they're raised, more parental investment, early responsibility for siblings, and training to maintain rather than challenge authority. So when you look at revolutionary leaders or entrepreneurs who create entirely new systems, the firstborn advantage often disappears or even reverses.
Interesting.
So key things at play here: early resource allocation. Firstborns get more parental attention and investment. Role training, they're explicitly taught to be responsible and set examples. Institutional bias, so traditional organizations select for firstborn traits like rule following or risk aversion, and context matters. The advantage is huge in family businesses where it is just inheritance, modest in corporations, and minimal among entrepreneurs and smaller businesses. Of course, important caveats here. This is very much based on Western nuclear families. We don't have much research in terms of other cultures and how that all works. So approach with caution. Is it true or is it a lie? Are firstborn children's natural leaders? It's a lie.
Oh man, that really disappoints me. I wanted it to be true. I so wanted, of all the ones, I wanted this one to be true. But obviously because I'm firstborn. But it is kind of weird as a firstborn. Like you're the youngest. I wonder if there's any correlation between partners, like romantic partners, whether they choose, or even business partners. Because my business partner in the property business is the youngest of 3.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of 4.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, when we finish this, go and do some research on that because that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there would be a higher than normal correlation. Am I using the right words here?
Yeah.
I'm trying to sound like a psychologist.
Yeah. More than chance. I mean, again, intuitively, the face validity of that is strong, isn't it? You've got to think in terms of complementary traits. You wouldn't want necessarily 2 people with same leadership type mentality or capability. But then equally, what we learned last week is that, similar people attract.
Yeah, true.
So, I'll dig into it. But I'd imagine it will either depend or it's not true.
Fair enough. Okay, so, and also, by the way, I've got a longitudinal study for you.
Oh.
But it's only got a sample. It's gone for 19 years, but it's only a sample survey of one partnership, which is me and Chris, because I've known him for 19 years.
Well, 2, there's me and you as well.
Oh, yeah, but I was going to say not romantic, but of course we're business as well. Yeah, so, we've got 2.
Of course we're business as well. So, how rude.
100% of partnerships are always the older and the younger.
Funny.
If you're listening and you do have a partner, like a business partner, let us know. Go on LinkedIn.
Let us know the dynamic.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Anyway. I'd like to study only child co-founders. Can't imagine there's many of them.
Bet they're a pain in the arse to work with. Bet they are. Anyway, we're on to the world famous weekly workplace surgery, where I put your questions to Leanne. By the way, if it's are there any links in the show notes for the previous truth or lie, or is it just all made up?
It's not made up, but if anyone does want the studies, I can leave links. And if you want,
if you want the studies, email Leanne.
Drop me an email. Hello at Truth, Lies and Work.
Okay, so on to the world famous weekly workplace surgery, where I put your questions to Leanne. You know by now, Leanne's a chartered occupational psychologist. I should be able to say that without stammering. A chartered occupational psychologist, and also my former business partner, based on the last few minutes. So question number 1, how do I manage chaos when hiring without spending a fortune? So I am a founder of a small tech startup. We're looking to hire our next team member. I'm excited about finding someone great, but the hiring process is an absolute nightmare. Right now, we're posting on a few job sites, and my inbox is getting slammed with hundreds of applications. I'm trying to review every single one, but it feels like I'm drowning. I'm worried I'll accidentally miss the right candidate, and it's taking up so much of my time. We definitely don't want to pay for an expensive recruitment system, but I do need a better solution. Lee, how can you help, Lee?
Well, I do have some thoughts on this in terms of being a recruiter for a small business that has a high number of applications. But I also wanted to bring in our friends at the Curve Group who specialise in high volume recruitment. So here is Liam Reed, Head of Recruitment Operations.
Honestly, this one's always tricky. I hear this a lot. People jump straight to, let's get some fancy AI tool to do the first round screening. But those systems can be seriously pricey, especially for a small tech startup. What I'd suggest, if the job boards do allow it, is to add maybe 2, 3, 4 absolute must-haves right into the job post before anyone can even apply. Most platforms then will just be able to auto-filter or reject applications who don't tick those boxes. That way, you're not having to waste time, hours even, sifting through all those irrelevant CVs. The system does that first pass, or the job board does that first pass for you, and you can spend time on those stronger matches. It's super simple, low cost fix, but it can make hiring that feel less chaotic without needing that fancy recruitment software.
Lee, anything you would add to that or any thoughts?
I think it's a really good tactic. Liam obviously knows what he's talking about, knows probably much more than I do about this world. But that's certainly something that I've always done and always recommend for organisations I work with, is to have that minimum essential criteria. And like Liam said, 3 or 4 points that are just non-negotiable. They're not the nice to have. You've proven through a job analysis that these things are fundamental for the role that you're recruiting for. Awesome if you can get your platform to ask those questions and tick. I think LinkedIn definitely does do that. I'm sure the platforms do as well. The only slight problem to be aware of with that is it could potentially lead to an increase in applications from majority groups, such as white middle-class males, who tend to overestimate their competence and maybe more likely to tick those boxes even if they don't have the minimum criteria.
I don't like the way you're looking me directly in the eyes when you're saying this.
So just to be mindful of, it might not necessarily stop some people from applying regardless. If you don't even have that capability on your job board, I'd say that's your first sift. And I think that's something that you can get, a really great business support person to do, is that first sift where you look at the cover letter and you look at the CV and you just go, it has to hit these 4 points. It's a yes or a no. Yes, forward to the mailbox of the hiring managers. No, put it in a folder to send a sorry, not successful on this occasion email. Because you're just going to rattle through them. And I think this is where some of the myths come from, where recruiters will only spend 10 seconds looking at a CV. And I'll be honest, in my first sift, I spend about 10 seconds looking because I need to see these minimum criteria. And then you can also have quality checks in there as well. So everything that does go into the rejection pile, the hiring manager will then look through just to make sure, look through 10 or so to make sure that it has been an accurate thing. But I think that's a really, really good idea from Liam there. Other things that I've done is then include as the next stage of the recruitment process some kind of work sample test. Nothing too onerous, thank you, but something that's maybe going to take the candidate 15 minutes, half an hour max to really hit some more essential criteria. In my experience, that usually sifts out about another 50 to 60% of people. You then still might not have dug into their CV in any more detail, but you're then going to have the results of the work sample test, which again, you're going to have indicators in terms of what good performance on that test looks like. At that point, you might go, right, this is a minimum criteria to pass as such. Anything that doesn't pass doesn't get through. Anything that does, maybe that's a point where we'll look at in more detail at the CVs, a specific experience, blah, 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 and move them on. If you've got a job that's going to get a lot of applications and you want to be thorough, having a really smartly designed recruitment process that is based on a job analysis and is predictive of work performance, it's really going to help you from a time perspective to get through as many as you can without overlooking really good people.
Question number 2. My manager invited me for lunch. Can I say no? So last week, my manager asked me if I wanted to go to lunch together, and I'm a bit unsure about it. To be honest, I'd rather keep things strictly professional and use my lunch break to myself. Is it weird to decline or say I'd rather stay at my desk, or would accepting actually be smart for my career? Now, they did a little bit of context. In last week's situation, I didn't say a flat no, but pretended I had to work over lunch at my desk. Which of course meant I had to actually do that rather than go out for lunch. So it wasn't a great situation. So I think the upshot is, manager says to an employee, do you want to go for lunch? They want to say no. Where do they stand?
You are well within your rights to say no and set a boundary, whether that be professional, personal, any reason at all. It's your time. It's your non-paid time of your work day to spend however you want. And also it is a little bit inappropriate for your manager to ask you this without providing some context? And this could be context that you might ask. So it might be like, sure, is there anything in particular that you wanted to discuss over lunch? Or is it more of a casual thing? Oh, it's more of a casual thing. Okay, well, to be honest, I think I'd just rather take my lunch hour myself. I don't really kind of want to blur the lines between kind of work and friends. And I hope you understand, blah, blah, blah. If they're like, actually, I want to talk to you about this specific thing about work, it's then saying, well, I think it'd actually be more appropriate for us to book in a meeting for that in work time, for us to have that conversation if it is something that is needed. Another thing you could do is kind of go, yeah, okay, that's great. Let's bring Sandra and John and Al and Leanne with us as well. Make sure you talk to them first and they're free and they're going to back you up. And then make it more of a social thing, which could then give a clear, this isn't cool to your manager without necessarily coming across as rude. In terms of will it impact your career? It might, but if it does, this isn't a manager you want to work for in the long term anyway. So I think ultimately it will give you all the information that you need.
See, now, I would approach it very differently. I'd approach it the opposite way and I'd go, yeah, I think you should go for lunch just once and find out what the situation is, because you never know. This manager could be like, right, okay, we're out. I want to talk to you about something quickly. I'm going to set up my own gig and I want you to come along. But obviously I couldn't ask you that in the office. Is that something you might be interested in? And I'd be like, oh, cool. I'm going to go and work for a new startup or something. That's the way I'd look at it. But then I suppose I am endlessly optimistic and also probably quite privileged.
Being a man.
Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, it's kind of tough. And that is something, if you are a manager and you're like, oh, I've done this before, maybe consider that from what Leanne just pointed out, just and a man. That's that. In that 1 3-word statement, I think she summed up why sometimes us men don't quite get it. And it could be the other way around. It could be.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah. It could be. There absolutely are women perpetrators. That is true. I think the thing is, if it is an instance like that, your manager's going to have another way to get in touch with you. They're probably going to have your number or they'll say, yeah, let's have it in work. And it'll be a very discreet, in a meeting going, well, don't want to talk much, setting up my new thing, want to bring you with you. Is this a conversation you're interested in? If so, can I give you a call after work? Yeah, okay, cool. It doesn't have to be, I don't know. I just think it's for any manager, I guess, more listening, who is maybe offended when they try and do this nice thing for member staff by taking them out for lunch without the context, without the reason for it, without more people involved. It just becomes a risk factor. It becomes a risk factor as a woman, as a female professional, as any professional, but particularly for women who are much more likely to experience sexual harassment in the workplace. It's something shocking. I think like 3 out of 5 women have experienced this in the workplace. So yeah, it's understandable why this person is reluctant. So if you're a manager, just don't put somebody in that position in the first place.
This is how old I am. When I was doing my teacher training, then on a Friday, my manager used to take me out for lunch and we used to go to the pub and have a couple of pints.
Nice.
Yeah, that was back in 1996. Good God, I'm old. Okay, question number 3. I'm spending $50 a month on office birthdays and I want to opt out.
50 quid a month?
It's a big team. Hi, Leanne. My team's birthday celebrations at work include a $25 contribution each for food, decorations, and a gift. To be honest, I'm not comfortable paying that. I can afford it, but I see work as work. I don't socialize with any of them outside work, so I feel I'm just handing over money to strangers. Am I being petty? Can I say no without looking like I'm not a team player? Just for context, I think there's on average there's 2 birthdays a month.
Yeah.
I think is what it's
I did that math.
just in case you couldn't do the maths. I mean, you probably got your calculator out. So, Lee, what's the situation here?
Oh, this is a tricky one. You said you can afford it. I'd probably just be like, it's annoying, but whatever. It will seem like you're not a team player. It will come across as a bit like, oh, John's a bit moody about that, isn't he? Equally, I think it's a very large contribution on a monthly basis to make, particularly with people you're not particularly close to. And there could also be people on the team who can't afford it and are finding this a bit of a stretch. Have a conversation with your manager. You could always raise it in a way that I'm concerned that some employees might find this financial contribution too high, particularly given the current increase in prices and cost of living. Is this something we need to revise with that in mind? Perhaps we can do a joint birthday celebration for these people that that have the birthday in the same month, or we just buy like a $5 cake from the supermarket or something. I understand where this comes from. I understand that you want to celebrate it. I've been in organisations that had similar things in terms of contributing an amount of money, but it wasn't $25 per person, that's for sure. What do they get? $25 per person on the team?
Well, reading into this, because I've got no more context, but reading into this, if it's $25 for each person, from each person in the office, and there's on average 2 birthdays a month.
Yeah, that's a team of at least 24.
I'm going to do the maths here. 24 times
25.
24 times 25. That is $600
What are you buying him?
Well, according to this, it says food, decorations, a gift, and a brand new car. No, what are they? What? This is 25's too much. 25's way too much.
25's too much. Yeah, this is excessive.
Someone's on the take here, aren't they? Someone's sliding some money off the top there. Yeah. This isn't right.
No, it's a bit much. I think it's fair to bring that up, especially in these times.
Yeah, especially in these times. In fact, I think on Friends, the series Friends, there was an entire episode about Ross not wanting to contribute to a cake or something, or someone's retirement, and he ended up eating the cake. Yeah, that's
I mean, joking aside, you do have to play it politically smartly, don't you? Yes. So it doesn't impact your relationships at work. But I think if you go to your manager with the view of this seems quite a lot, times have changed, times are a bit tougher, do we need to revise this down? Or maybe given the current climate and how people are struggling and everything that's going on politically and the marginalisation of minority groups, what if you took that $25 per person and gave it to a charity?
Yeah.
I mean, a culture thing could be that rather than celebrating individual birthdays, you celebrate team stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe when you get somebody new to join the team, or when somebody leaves or goes on retirement, or perhaps when you get in a brand new client, or you get some really great feedback from a customer, celebrate the cultural things that actually reinforce relationships rather than the individual birthdays that we've all got. We're not special. We've all got one.
We've all got one. Anyway, so that's all for now, I think, Leanne. If you have your own question you'd like me to put to Leanne, then check out the show notes. You can get in touch with us there. Join us next Tuesday for another edition of This Week in Work. Oh, and if you're a founder of a business that's 5 or more years old and has 15 to 75 employees, I want to talk to you. We're creating a new program and I really want your honest feedback on it. Now, I'm not going to try and sell this to you. In fact, I want to show you the program and go, this is what it is. Why wouldn't you buy it? Because that's going to help us to overcome objections. And I also want to hear your story because I'm just a nosy bugger. I like to hear people's stories.
And it's actually just lovely to connect with listeners as well, isn't it? And
it is.
See what they're up to.
Absolutely. So there's a guy called John. I'm not going to go into his surname, but a guy called John who got in touch with me. We had a lovely chat. He gave me some great ideas, and I'm like, I think he's a good mate now. So I'm gonna go for a beer with John. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm gonna go for a beer with him.
Special friends.
Special friends. Oh no, I'm gonna get the smallest violin in the world.
Join us on Thursday as well. I'm not gonna lie, Al and I are on holiday this week. We're not even here. This is just coming to you from a cloud, from the sky.
This is our digital twins who are doing this episode.
Yeah, so because we are off, we need to practice what we preach. If we just squished in 2 weeks of work into one, then we wouldn't be very, very good people in terms of what we're telling other leaders to do. So
it wouldn't be very good episodes.
Exactly. So instead, we're squashing half a week's work, 1.5 weeks work into 1 week. And we are bringing you an episode from the archives. Al and I do this when we're away, and we go back through and we pick out a conversation that is either really timely, really topical, or we just loved. And this one I loved. Angela Foster, the petite style coach, tells us all about how to dress for success and the surprising psychology behind workwear.
Yeah, and if you are not petite or not female, there's still plenty of stuff in there for you, because later on she talks about men, and it's also, as a man, it's kind of interesting to hear the psychology behind it. I felt a bit like I was snooping on a private phone call.
Yeah, like you shouldn't be listening.
Yeah, it was quite cool. Mm-hmm. Right, so we will see you on Thursday. We won't see you, but our pre-record will, and we'll see you live next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.